Has any one of you watched the G7 conference? You know, those old fucks who gather there and, they still pretend they are ruling the world. The so-called seven pseudo-great powers who no one cares about and no one gives a damn about because the world has way more troubles than, I don't know, the few fuckers in there who simply still try to appear as if they're glittering and they know the best of, for everyone else, but no one actually elected them. It's like, do you think anyone actually cares about Macron or Justin Trudeau? Gosh, they actually really spend a lot of time to do all these little details in psychology, like they use even the name Justin, which comes from, well, it's a stem of justice or justice, but, well, no one believes in that justice anymore because who the fuck would ever believe in the Khazar way of life? See, these people is fully based on still based on their tradition of human sacrifice rituals and, you know, dominating over the others through any possible means. If this sick society hasn't proven to you, well, in case you're still wondering about the war in Ukraine, have you heard what the G7 actually said? A lot of people are listening, but they're not truly listening. They're just hearing the sounds. Because, in case you still haven't figured out that the war in Ukraine is useless and it only serves some people's interests, well, it does serve a big interest. It's intended to design Romania and Ukraine as, well, the new Israel. It's going to be a new big Israel according to their plans, and by impoverishing and genociding all the remaining people in there, except the Jews who are transiting in Romania by the thousands, they said they're going to give so called Romanian citizenship to around 280,000 Jewish people. They're not necessarily Jewish. Don't forget about that. Those are not civilians and not Jewish people. Those are going to be part of the Mossad, most likely, and other officials. And given the great birth rates of the Khazari, they will overwhelm those locations pretty quickly. You've got Romania. In 34 years, more than half its population, more than 10 million people, fled the country because of the impoverished conditions. And Ukraine, more than 50 million people, it's around, they say, 20 million people left, or something around that. A lot of people died to the war, yes, but definitely not as many as the people who fled. So you've got two huge territories that, well, the same rulers who are telling you that, they're fighting for the well being of Ukraine, well, guess what? They said two very notable things. They said that they are increasing their efforts to support Ukraine, but they also specified it as long as it is needed. I guess most of the people and Ukraine supporters actually followed that, right? Or they didn't. No, I doubt they didn't. They said as long as it is needed. So as long as it is needed, they will support Ukraine. The war is over. I'm telling you, as a Romanian, their war is over. All the great infrastructure that the country had was taken by the Russians. Why do you think the Russians came to a halt? They're not interested in taking Kiev. They're not interested in anything. They took the whole infrastructure of Ukraine, or most of it. And now the mass media still lying and getting millions upon millions of euros. Those are your money that you're contributing to the European Union as a so-called European citizen. That money is being funneled into the mainstream media and into the internet and Google's algorithms to give you whatever they want you to know. That Russia is losing and blah 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 and all this and all that. But still, international sources, international ones, tell you that Russia is producing more armament than the whole planet combined, like twice than that. So I don't know how Ukraine's gonna actually win that war. They're planting all sorts of military equipment in Romania as well. They launched missiles into Siberia, right, from Ukraine, because they're wanting to stir up the Russians so that they can blame the Russians that World War III would start. But the Russians aren't fools. You're not gonna fool the Russians with such bigotry, with such useless tricks, honestly. And also they, mentioned that, well, they want to support Ukraine, but for how long? Well, they never mentioned for how long, they just said they will. If you look at America, what's it been that the administration, not the Americans themselves, what is it that the administrations have done? Genocide. Everywhere they went, they simply did genocide. And the great powers, look at them. None of them actually have some sort of, ideals about, saving lives and the such. Like, if you think that they're capable of or willing to save lives, look at wherever the, American armies have toured, right? 900 military bases everywhere in the world. Why is it so, right? By the American administration. To keep impoverished countries poor and to keep the people idiotic, right? So that they can easily be ruled. So you're telling me that these people are actually supporting Ukraine? Nah, come on. Like, do you think Ursula von der Leyen is capable of that? Nah. Von der Leyen is just a big liar. She's just a big useless puppet. And she does everything that the Khazars actually do. When you challenge them, they just grin because they know they're useless. They know they don't serve any purpose in this world outside of, well, they don't even serve a purpose, right? If you're still wondering about the um, past of these fuckers, well, when they were to choose a religion, they did not choose Islam, they did not choose Christianity. Why? Well, because they're, let's say, human sacrifice related and occult related traditions and society were highly bent on this. They were highly bent on destruction and the such. And well, obviously they liked the Jewish tradition, the Jewish religion, so they simply adopted it with the idea of rabbis and the such. And well, it all goes on and on. There are thousands of sources upon that. Obviously, many of them are hidden because they wouldn't want you to know the truth. But you're telling me that Ukraine is actually being supported to achieve something against Russia? Nah, come on. When the war in Ukraine started, there was one of those American figures, and he was speaking in an interview that it is horrible what's happening in there. But if you had a bit of human dignity and sensitivity, you just looked into that person's eyes and you see that they are lacking any kind of emotion in that case. When the war started in Israel, they were crying. Why? Because they're also a Khazar. And the Khazars know one thing. Once they come into your country, it is their country. You don't believe me? Well, I can't not believe it because for 200 years we've been invaded as Romanians, we've been invaded by those fucking Khazars. So, what was the problem? Well, the problem is the moment they came in, they saw that 90% of our population was agrarian, was peasants. They said, oh, good, this territory is ours, right? And they started genocides and even more genocides. They are now changing our history as we speak. And well, obviously, I can't believe any fucking thing that they say, right? Like, who the fuck cares about Justin Trudeau? He's finished. Next year they have elections. I'm sure their dear system will actually do the same thing they've done in my country, rig the elections. Still, they've had people all over my country burn the unwanted votes and create votes because they follow the system. They created something in which you are kind of obliged to present every little bit of possession that you had. And we were warned not to do this, but a lot of people being stupid, they did. And in those details that you gave was also your address and your name. It was, guess what? In previous elections, it was found out that dead people also voted. Well, a huge number of those, around 20,000 or even more, dead people voted. Why? Because they used those addresses and those names. Nowadays, in these elections, the same fuckers who've been betraying our country for 34 years got so-called elected with even greater percentages. Well, not enough proof that the system is rigged? Well, good luck and have fun then. Keep dreaming. Hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You're appreciated, take care, and this being said, well, have an awesome day. Ferinjan Board, signing out.